Hello and welcome to the North Carolina Museum of History and the 21st African American Cultural Celebration. Our presenter, Kiara Sanders, will begin in just a moment, but we want to start with a few notes. Remember to ask any questions in the chat, and we'll do our best to respond to them and share with our presenter. Please note that our presenters and off-camera crew are masked for the safety of everyone. We thank the following sponsors of the North Carolina Museum of History Foundation for helping to make this event possible.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us again. We have with us today Kiara Sanders. Kiara is a visual artist and North Carolina Central University alum who recently in 2021 completed the work African American Trailblazers Mural, which celebrates some of the many Black civic leaders who helped shape the towns of Carrboro and Chapel Hill. We're going to take a quick view at the video.
One of the 12 people that I'm painting is actually the person who built that building with his own hands. It's kind of like a full circle moment to also put my hand on a historic building, share that with the public because we need to keep history alive. My name is Kiara Sanders and I'm a visual artist. This mural is the African American Trailblazers of Chapel Hill and Carrboro. Those people that are featured in the mural have each had a hand in shaping what life looked like for Black people who live in this area. It's an honor to be able to tap into that history because years can pass by and so much can get lost to time. You can come across, this work and look at the faces and wonder to yourself, who is that? And then that can start a whole new conversation about how we introduce people who basically paved the way for us to live and thrive. I'm inspired by Harlem Renaissance artists, especially Aaron Douglas. He did these gigantic murals. You could see the silhouettes and the figures, and then these grand cultural scenes of Black people. And oftentimes the figures would have like these auras around them. And I wanted to go for that same design element to sort of venerate the people in the mural and draw focus to them. I also want to make it eye-catching, to make them seem almost royal, give a regal aura to them.
That's great. So share with us the process of you creating that concept to painting to selecting location. Just tell us more about that mural.
Okay, so basically, I had done a few other projects for the town of Chapel Hill at the time, mostly like designing bus shelter. And so the coordinator emailed me to tell me that there was some people that were looking to make the like they needed an artist to help bring a mural that's dedicated to the local some local civic leaders. They needed an artist to help bring that to fruition. So I went through the typical process of applying for a public art mural project, which involves submitting a proposal, which would include work you've done in the past and kind of like giving them an idea of what you can do and what your idea is for the project. And so I heard, and I was very shocked to find out I actually got selected because I was up against a few other artists.
Wow.
And so once I found that out, I quickly had to have a couple of meetings, and we had to decide who was actually going to go on the wall. And there was like a large list of people. There were just so many people, we had to narrow it down to 12.
Wow.
And once I got photographs of everyone that's in the mural, that's when I had to work on the initial design, the initial sketch. And then once that got approved, that's when I actually had to go into painting the mural.
And how long did that take you?
2 months. I started painting in the summer of 2021. Actually, I had to draw so I had to use a very specific kind of technique in order to, because I had never painted anything that large before.
Really?
Like that was my first time painting portraits that big.
This is your first time painting on that large of a scale.
Yes.
Wow.
Like normally I'm used to making like smaller designs or like maybe painting on like a 2-foot canvas or something, but we're talking like 20 feet by 40 feet. So
amazing.
I had to scale up.
How did you find that process?
Well, I took a page out of the book from other mural artists who actually, the method is called, like, I had to use a specific type of grid. And what you do is I had to fill the wall up with like very random letters, and it would have looked like graffiti if you first saw it. I actually had people ask me like, what in the world is going on with this wall? But that grid was there so that I knew where to put each person. And that's what helped me to scale up to such a large size.
So let's start from the beginning. How and when did you first begin making art?
Okay, so when I would say it's been a lifelong thing. So when I was young, of course, I loved to draw. I would draw in all my classes and all my teachers hated it. So I would say that I didn't really start taking it serious until high school, when I realized this is really just what I can see myself doing. And so once I got into college, and I studied art, I kind of found that I was really good with doing portraits.
Portraits.
So,
and you mentioned earlier you paint and create in 2D. So what's that for someone who is not in your world?
oh yes, that is a weird artist term. So 2D is just like two-dimensional art. So I guess for comparison, three-dimensional art would be like sculptures or pottery or anything that you can anything with volume, I guess.
Mhm.
So 2D is more like something on a surface. So anything that's painting, drawing,
On something flat.
Yes, on something
On
flat.
something flat. And now you know that that flat can be either small portrait size or huge size of a building size.
Oh, yes.
So what inspires and motivates you to create your artwork?
So, truth be told, what inspires me is people.
Mm.
So, that could be being inspired by, well, diversity in people. So, like, every day sort of people, like, to go back to the project, the mural, one thing that really kept me going was getting to learn about the people in the mural. Each one, as I was going, like, people would come and talk to me and tell me the life story of each person. And it's just the fact that each of us is carrying so much of a story inside of us. And it's like you would never know unless you ask or open up about it. And there's like really a world inside each person. So that's really the most inspiring thing about painting people. And yeah.
And being a part of the environment, which brings us back to the theme, which is Black People, Green Planet. You are helping us be seen. You're increasing visibility. And that's part of justice, right? Like, we have to lift up the stories and share the stories in order to be seen, so that we aren't forgetting who was here first and who are indeed the trailblazers, like what you did with your project. So why are murals important, and what can they do for communities?
So murals are great for a few reasons I can think of off the top of my head. While I was doing it, there were definitely people asking questions about what I was doing and who are those people. There's been a lot of conversations in public art realm about creating work that connects to a community. And so I think for that, that's one of the things that it can really do is like definitely help educate people more about their surroundings, because there are definitely some people that were in that area who had probably never even realized that these people contributed so much to the area.
Yeah.
And like their names are up on buildings, and you know, but like to actually put a face to that name.
Yeah. It's important to be seen.
Yeah, important to be seen.
It's important to be seen. So that comes to the next question, which we've kind of already touched on, which is, what is your process? What was the process like for the African American Trailblazers mural, and how did you make this idea a reality? And I would add in, who were a couple people or stories that did inspire you as you were researching for the project?
Okay, so just to make sure I understand, going into, you want me to go into the process of
to speak more about the Trailblazers project process. So you mentioned you did have to look up a few people. You wanted to find their portraits and pictures. so that you could create things? Did you look at a lot of different pictures and decide on which one you wanted to use? Or so what were some of the details of the project if we went behind the scenes with that?
Oh, okay. So some people like, for example, there is one person in the mural. His name is Thurman Atkins. He actually did not have many photos at all. Like I think there was literally just one photo. And then the funny thing is, some of them were also in black and white. So I really had to sort of do a little bit more digging and like asking more questions. And of course, like the people that commissioned me were always there to hold me accountable. Like, you know, if I sort of like, if I put a detail that's not there, I remember one time I actually gave one of the individuals like gapped teeth. And then the person was like, he did not have a gap in his teeth. Like, that's not him. But like, I would go back and like fix that. Like, I never took any of that personal because I need to, you know, it's important to represent people. And so, as they are. And so it was a slight challenge at times, but nothing that couldn't be resolved.
Other than that one story, is there anyone else who stood out on that mural? Any story that you took with you from that mural?
So interestingly enough, one of the individuals in the mural, Walter Rigsby, actually, so the building is Walt's Grill. Like it's a restaurant. And one of the people is actually the man who built it. Like he built it with like no help, very little help. And it's kind of funny because it's like many years later, I come along and I'm painting him on the side of his own building. And I did like mostly all of that.
Wow.
With little help.
That's full circle, your shared stories and connections just within that. So what has the community's response been to the African American Trailblazers mural? I know they're asking you questions like as they were passing by and then after the project is done.
There were definitely several people who told me that they knew these people in life. Like they were taught by these people. The person had like given them a job. And getting to be in connection with the people that were telling me these stories. And let's see, it was just so much of me learning that there is like a whole community here. And mostly the response is that a lot of people were very happy to see that, like, you know, a lot of them were like, oh, well, this brings me back to, you know, growing up around here. And so it's very nice to, it was basically well received that, like,
that's wonderful.
It's like a moment frozen in time.
That's great. So what advice would you give to anyone who's listening who might be interested in pursuing art?
So I kind of want to, how to put this without sounding too out there.
You can be out there. We like out there here.
When I was going into art, I definitely had some people who were trying to tell me, like, okay, you can do this, but like, you kind of need a real job, you know. And everybody's familiar with that whole trope of like, starving artist, whatever. The thing about it, I would say, is if you are going to go into this field, it's okay to get discouraged at times. I've definitely been told no a lot, and it's definitely like hurt me. But the funny thing is, continuing to put yourself out there will make someone remember you and follow up with you. So I would say, like, it's not that it's a starving artist thing. It's just something like kind of watering a plant. You just have to keep at it. You're not going to get the fruit right away in most cases. I mean, unless you're really like lucky that way, but like just keep making art, keep going to those openings, keep putting yourself out there, even if you're just promoting yourself, like even if you're just like, hey, I have this thing, and like nobody, RSVPs to your event, just do it anyway.
So I'm going to circle back to something that we talked about a bit earlier about murals and what they can do for communities. I work with I work kind of in the healthcare field, kind of, sort of, and we work with health disparities and health equity. And we were looking at a clinic the other day, and we were saying, what we fix in this clinic? Bare walls, just nothing but bare walls. And someone said, a mural. If you want to create an inviting space, we should put a mural here. So what is the potential that art can have and the impact, especially of visual artists, when you're thinking about buildings and walls and what stories and narratives can be told? Just give us a little bit more about that.
Well, this is a really good question, and it's like there's just so many different directions. One thing that I love about art or seeing art is that I think everybody definitely has like a memory of some piece of art, like something that stuck with them for years. Whether that's like the mural that was in like your middle school or something like that, or so I would say that that's like the main thing I like about murals, is that there can be like yes, it's an aesthetic thing. It can make the place look nice, but there's always room to like also add a narrative and connect it to wherever the mural is. Like it just has to like have a connection to wherever it is, and then like it can be part of like memory and history. I feel like I trailed off a little bit from your question. I apologize.
No, I think you're addressing it. I think it's really important that, especially in spaces, and we're trying to create intentional spaces now, and we're trying to walk into somewhere and say, I do belong here, yes. And how that can be accomplished through a mural or a piece of artwork and what that can stand for. So I think that's just an important thing to say, especially as we're working on justice issues and equity issues. And if an organization says that it is increasing its diversity, where do I see myself when I walk into a space? So the work that you do is vitally important. And so I want to thank you. As we're going into Black History Month, it was the end of January, and so we're going into Black History Month. Who are some of the people who have inspired you? Who would you like to lift up in this moment and celebrate, or give us some people to study or look up, or give us some homework to do?
Okay. So when I was doing this mural, I was definitely thinking about the works of Aaron Douglas. He was a Harlem Renaissance artist, and the paintings and murals that he did are just these grand, just, I've seen it where he depicts like people dancing and like Egypt and just wow. There is another artist, I'm trying to remember her name. She is also a Harlem Renaissance artist. Lois Malou Jones.
Nice.
She definitely she made sort of realistic portraits, but also like in her later work, there's definitely motifs of like African art, and she had a very long, illustrious career. And I'm definitely inspired by Henry Osawa Tanner, even though he's way, way back in the 1800s.
Okay. I'll look him up. Thank you for that quick lesson. So what do you hope? Were there any questions that came in? I needed to check.
We do have a couple of questions, many of how to get in touch with you, Kiara. So I've included your website and your Instagram in the chat so folks can check you out and get in touch. We did have a question from Charlita. They say, I'm a part of the Olive Hill Economic Community Development Corporation, and we are in the process of doing a mural of Blacks in the communities of Morganton, North Carolina, and Burt County. It is called a Unity Corner project. Where can she access the video that you shared today?
So the video is it's on YouTube.
Okay.
Under Chapel Hill Arts and I think it's Chapel Hill Community Arts and Culture, or some I don't remember it off the top of my head, but if you look up Chapel Hill Arts, you will find that video.
Okay, I will do that while we're chatting. And then Wanda asks, if you were to put your image on the wall with the Trailblazers, where would you stand beside, or who would you stand beside, and why?
Oh, goodness.
There's a part 2. So do you want to answer that first, and then I'll I'll share the rest of the question?
Okay, so who would I stand beside on that Trailblazers mural? I feel like I'm such like a, first of all, I don't know that I would ever paint myself. like I don't know, like that's, if I were to put myself in there, I would probably do it in like I would put myself maybe next to, I feel like I would put, it will probably be like it'll be like one of those little secret things. Like I'll probably paint like something that represents myself. Like maybe like in someone's pocket, there will be like a little handkerchief and it'll have my initials on it.
That's really cool. The second part is, public art informs others about a place. Have you been invited to some of the places where your art is visible to speak about your art? And is there one building or area where you would love to paint a mural?
So have I been invited to
speak about your art in the place where your art has been or is?
A few times, yes. Actually, for this recent mural, that was one of the few times. And forgive me if I mess this up, but the Delta Sigma Thetas, they actually had a mural. It was like a dedication. Yeah, it was a mural dedication, and they allowed me to basically speak in front of the families of the people that were in the mural. And it's really cool to be able to, when there is room to give, when the artist can have space to talk about the work. And as far as is there a building or area where I would love to paint a mural? That's a really good question. I would love to do one actually in either Apex or Cary, because I think that there could definitely be more representation in that town or city. And all the towns or cities where the representation is lacking, I would love to put a mural there.
Awesome. Thank you. Those are all of our questions from the
Great.
chat.
So in closing, what's a couple things that you hope people can take away from this presentation today?
I will say that ever since the events of 2020, I noticed that there's definitely been more Black artists coming more into view and having opportunities, and companies and other places want to work with them. That shouldn't just be like a trend. That is something that just needs to be like it just needs to be. That's it. And if you are an artist, keep making art, and the world needs it. Wherever we're going, the world will always need art and artists.
I think that is well said, and that is the perfect way to end this session. Thank you so much, Kiara.
Thank you so much.
Performances taking place throughout the day, screening on our website, nc-aacc.com. Thank you.